My husband got arrested at the altar and is now locked up in a Mexican prison. Story time! So at the start of the month, I thought I was marrying my best friend Steve. We had decided that we wanted a destination wedding and we were really in love with Mexico. We booked our dream venue and invited our nearest and dearest. I had my best friend Amy as my maid of honour. We'd literally been best friends since like year one. Always dreamed of the day we'd get married. Steve had Amy's boyfriend as his best man. So the ceremony is incredible. Everything is literal perfection. Until the line, anyone have any reason why these two should not marry? At which point, Amy chirps up, starts sobbing. She says, I do. I'm like, bitch, that is my line. I say I do. This is when she discloses that she has been having an affair with my husband for 3 years. I was a mess. I was looking at Steve and then looking at Amy, looking at Steve then looking at Amy. Then Steve's best man, Dave, who is obviously Amy's boyfriend, is like, the fuck? He is then looking at Steve, then looking at Amy, then looking at me. Steve is like, why are you doing this? Don't do this. He's like, why couldn't you just keeping it a secret? Why now? Amy's sobbing like, I couldn't let you go through with it. I love you, Steve. Your fucking boyfriend stood right there. The crowd were like this. Literally no one had any clue what to do. And then the fight happened. Dave, the best man, literally smacks Steve over the head. Steve's on the floor. He then proceeds to push the floral archway that we're getting married under straight on top of him. Me and Amy are just screaming. Steve gets up from underneath the archway. I've never seen anyone change quicker. Steve was about to choose violence. He walked up to his dad, who was sat in the front row, and very calmly asked if he could have his chair. Don't know why his dad stood up. Steve picks up the chair and throws it at Dave. Like Dave has done anything wrong here. Anyway, at this point the officiant has run off. We didn't know where she'd been. Later to find out that she'd called the police. Honestly, I don't know how these police got here so quick because they were still fighting by the time they rocked up. At this moment in time, Steve was on top of Dave. He couldn't see Dave doing anything. And Steve gets arrested in Mexico at our wedding after I found out he'd been having an affair with my best friend. Did anybody have that on their bingo card for this year? So Steve gets arrested. Amy goes chasing after them. Hun, you can have him. Of course, we paid for this incredible venue, an incredible like party, and it felt like a waste not to go ahead with it. So me and Dave just got absolutely hammered. The DJ didn't speak a word of English and thought that me and Dave were getting married. Just thought, fuck it, let's play into it. We had our first dance. One of the guests thought it was the strangest thing ever. So the next morning, I woke up and I was in Dave's bed. I've never had a hangover like it. And apparently me and Dave have a lot in common. So now, I'm a newly single woman. I don't really know what to do with my life. One of the girls I work with thinks I should give Dave a try. But what do you think I should do?
I want to kick out my brother and his family after they've been horrible house guests. My brother, Ellis, recently got a job in my city that required an immediate start. He didn't have the time or money to find a place on such short notice, and his partner, Taylor, just had a baby 7 months ago, so he didn't want to leave her alone. So he asked if he could stay at my place for a couple months to get situated. Ellis is a responsible guy who doesn't take advantage of people, so I felt okay saying yes. Ellis, Taylor, their 7-month-old baby, and Taylor's daughter all moved in. Before they came, I made it clear that I would not tolerate them doing any sleep training or cry it out stuff with the baby. If the baby cries, you need to make an immediate and reasonable effort to soothe him. The other rule was that Taylor was responsible for any damage her daughter did to the house. You would think this would be obvious, but we've had previous incidents. The final rule was neither I nor my husband would be doing any childcare. I'm a stay-at-home mom to my own daughter, as well as having a side business. And my husband works very hard. Just because we're at home does not mean we're available to provide childcare. I thought it went without saying, and they said they would be responsible for themselves in all other ways. They accepted all of the conditions and moved in. It took 2 weeks to go to shit. There were times I'd have to get up in the night to wake up Taylor and Ellis to get the baby. Taylor's daughter also has not adjusted well to the move and is constantly playing sick to avoid going to school. Then, because she's not really sick, she spends the day causing havoc. Taylor has been bugging me to help her with the kids despite agreeing that she wouldn't. She's also been expecting that she and the kids would be cooked and cleaned for her. So it was 2 weeks until I was getting annoyed and a further 2 weeks of me being on edge. What tipped it over was earlier this week. I was picking my daughter up early from school and going out, and Taylor asked me to take her daughter with me. She said she was drowning in things to do and the baby was fussing and she needed a break. I said no, Taylor swore at me, and I just left. When we got back a few hours later, the first thing I hear is the baby crying. I go into the nursery, no Taylor. Her daughter is sitting on the couch watching TV and crying, no Taylor. My kitchen is a mess. No Taylor. I frantically searched the whole house to find Taylor locked in the closet. She said that she couldn't take it and needed a break. I call Ellis and tell him to get his ass home. I sat them down and said that they had to go. I said I would chip in for a hotel, but I can't do this anymore. Ellis thinks that I'm being an a-hole and going back on the deal, but he and Taylor haven't held up their end. I do feel bad because I don't want to stress Ellis out with his new job, but I'm going crazy. I hate being in my own home. Am I in the wrong for putting my foot down? I had to tell my girlfriend that I won't be with her if she continues to allow her poly friend to try and convince us to open up our relationship. My girlfriend and I have been together for a while now, and recently, one of her male friends has become polyamorous with his girlfriend. I don't know all the details, but they basically date and have sex with others. This guy friend was also my girlfriend's friends with benefits, which makes his comments even more uncomfortable for me. Ever since he started exploring this new lifestyle, he's tried to convince us, mostly my girlfriend, to try it. When you're really secure in your relationship, sleeping with others will not matter. I told him that there is no way in hell I'm ever trying that lifestyle. My girlfriend denied it too, but not as strongly. Something that pissed me off though was when this guy said, "It's okay, fragile masculinity is pretty common with inexperienced men." I've talked to my girlfriend alone to confirm this is not something that she ever wants, which she did confirm. I also told her next time her friend makes a comment like that, she better back me up when I tell him to F off, because I won't take that kind of disrespect. She agreed and said that the comment was wrong. While his comments on my fragile masculinity have stopped, he still tries to convince my girlfriend to try the lifestyle several times. I told her the fact that she regularly hangs with the guy who was a friends with benefits and is basically one step away from straight up asking to sleep with him again is making me way too uncomfortable. I told her that I'm not going to be with someone who's friends with the guy who basically is begging her to sleep with him under the guise of being a poly. Am I in the wrong? My husband of 20 years is cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. I, 41 female, am a stay-at-home mom. My husband, 48 male, whom we'll call Paul, works in finance. We've been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 kids who we'll call Eric, an 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the lights of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I would age poorly since we first met. Our son, Eric, has a girlfriend, 18 female, who he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered his family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week, I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy, our son's girlfriend, and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she misses sucking his D. I froze in place, in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I had misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it because over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer with tons of BDSM porn. He clearly has a porn addiction. He also has saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed, it was still proof that I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things said at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He would call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy LOLing. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month, I found a thong in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive and acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made zero sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm totally overwhelmed on how to handle this because obviously actions need to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely fucked up topic with him. I can't believe that I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind started to race, realizing that I had started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There's so many layers to all of this, and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any effing sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact on his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders. I haven't confronted my husband about this because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to first about this. I share my story not for sympathy, but in search of understanding and perhaps advice from those who might have had to grapple with deep betrayal.
I slept with my best friend's husband on their wedding day. Story time. I have a best friend who we'll call Amy. This girl is like my sister. I love and care about her so much. There is just one small problem. I am absolutely in love with her husband. Actually really, really complicated. So circling back to when I first met Amy, this was about 10 years ago, I also met Steve. And Steve was actually my friend first. And I went and told Amy all about this guy that I'd met who I really, really liked. She said I really want to get to know him more. So I decided to invite Steve to the movies with us one day. And by the end of the night, Amy had made a move on him. And they ended up kissing in the cinema, sat next to me. So when the film was done, Steve went his way and me and Amy got in the car together. She said that as we weren't dating, she thought it was just fair game. And I knew that at this moment I would have to distance myself from both of them. And obviously Amy started dating Steve. So a year later, things started to change between me and Steve. Me and Steve found each other alone together. Steve actually ended up telling me that I was the one he had always wanted. He told me that he'd gotten really, really excited when I invited him to the movies. Because Amy was the one that made a move on him, he thought that I had set it up for my best friend. And I was like, no, that's absolutely crazy. I absolutely really liked you as well. That's why I invited you. It changed the overall chemistry of our relationship. But we never ever acted on it. Fast forward 10 years later. We were all in the same hotel, but we're all getting ready in different rooms. So all the boys went to one room, all the girls went to another. Amy ended up sending me to the boys' room because she needed to get a charger out of Steve's bag. When I got there, Steve opened the door. I was like, I'm so sorry for barging in on the lad time. He was like, no, it's not a problem. So I got into the room and I realised that none of the other guys were there. And then I felt a hand on my waist. He was like, I just can't keep myself away from you. I can't help but think it should be you that I marry. Now listen, don't judge me. After 10 years of liking Steve, there was no urges I was fighting off. 10 years. And I was like, well, they're not married yet, so it's fair game. It was really good. Quick, but really good. I had to get back to the girls' room. And now I'm so glad that even though it was on their wedding day, we had that moment together. So does that make me a terrible person?
Am I in the wrong for humiliating my daughter for making her tell her relatives that she isn't graduating and paying me back for all the rental stuff? My daughter was supposed to graduate college this semester. We've been talking about her graduation party for basically 7 months, what she wanted to do and who to invite. We have already sent out the invites and multiple relatives have booked flights to come. The issue is my daughter isn't graduating. She lied to everyone for at least 4 months. She failed the class that she needed to graduate last semester and didn't inform anyone. She told us this yesterday. The party is in about a month. Everything has been paid for already. So I informed her that she needs to call all of her relatives and explain the situation. If they can't get a refund for their flights, I expect her to offer to pay them back. I also informed her that she needs to pay back the rental price since I can't get a refund for some stuff. This resulted in a huge argument and she's calling me a jerk for humiliating her. I explained that this is her fault and if she informed us months ago, this wouldn't be happening. My husband thinks that I'm being a bit harsh but is sticking with me. She knew she failed the class by break the first week of December. She had all December, January, February, and this March to inform us and didn't. She continues to plan with us for the graduation party and never informed us that she wasn't graduating. It was a core class offered once a year. She'll need to take it in the fall. She knew she wasn't graduating. The school isn't letting her walk. She'll have to walk at the December one. Multiple people are asking what I would have done if she informed me. I would have moved the party and helped her figure out how to make the best out of the extra semester. Probably would have looked into if she could add a quick minor, but can't do that now since most of the summer classes have been filled. So, am I in the wrong?
Am I wrong for kicking my mom out of my dad's old house after finding out what she's been telling my wife? I, 33 male, am beyond angry about this. Some of my siblings are telling me it was an overreaction while also mad at what she did. I'd really like some thoughts about this because the house seems divided. My wife Cara and I were friends for 3 years. She was in a very toxic and abusive relationship for 3 years until she had begged us, me and our closest friends, to help her get out. It was difficult, but we made it possible. We all pitched in for her to stay as far as possible while she got a restraining order and all of that jazz. We each took turns going to visit, and then she found out she was pregnant, so I helped out more. Her ex passed from an overdose when my stepson, 7 male, was 4 months old, so since then, we all became sort of like uncles and aunts to him. Around that time, I knew I developed feelings for her, but we never ever did anything because she had her son and personal issues to process. It didn't feel right at the time. But yes, we did start a relationship 3 years later. She's the one who first admitted she's in love with me, so things went from there. We just got married. She's 5 months pregnant with our second child. I will say that yeah, my mom had issues at the start of our relationship because she believed Cara was faking what happened to her just to make me feel sorry for her and take care of them. We went through a period of not talking until she apologized, so we mended things somewhat. My mom came to stay at our house, which was my dad's house, until he decided to give ownership to me when they moved. He passed away 10 months ago, and with the economy, my mom couldn't stay where they were living before. We are still trying to work out where she can live long term. I heard my mom get into an argument with my wife because she was trying to redecorate the nursery against Cara's wishes. All I heard was my mom telling her that she's not the lady of the house just because her fake victim sob story worked on me. She looked flustered when I demanded her to tell me what that meant. And basically, she held on to the same belief, but she was willing to put up with my choices on who I marry so she doesn't lose me. Everything she had to say infuriated me. And then seeing how upset Cara was by everything, I called my brother to come pick my mom up because she can't stay here right now. My mom wouldn't stop crying not to do this to her just for being honest. She's still at my brother's, but they keep trying to talk to me to let her come back because this was my dad's house and of course she wants to feel closer to him. But after asking Cara if this is the first time she said anything, she revealed my mom has told her numerous times what she thinks of her and kept it from me because she knew it would hurt our relationship. For that reason, I haven't let my mom come back. It's hard because I know what this house means to her and that she's still sad about my dad, but also can't forgive her for upsetting my wife. So, am I the asshole? Am I wrong for refusing to move in with my boyfriend and friend who can't afford the new place without me? I, 25 female, moved in with my boyfriend, 30 male, to help out with him financially. He got stuck outside of his home country and I was well established. 1 month, he asked me to help with the bills, and I did. The next month, I proposed to move in together since I couldn't afford to cover my bills and part of his. He didn't want to leave his friend, 32 male, with whom he shared an apartment, so I agreed to move in with them. Anyways, I moved to the smaller room without an ensuite bathroom with my boyfriend, and the friend was in the bigger one with the bathroom inside. At first, I thought my boyfriend and I would be sharing bills in half, so we both paid half of the rent, his friend paid the other half, and electricity and water 3 ways. However, the friend asked if I could pay a third of the rent. I didn't know if it was standard, but neither of them were working and it wasn't a burden for me. It was about the same as I was paying for my own apartment before, so I agreed. I did state that once the rent period at the apartment was up, we would move so my boyfriend and I could have a bigger room with a bathroom inside. They both agreed, like, yeah. Once the rent was up, they started looking for apartments. We found a house we liked, but it struck me as odd, as the house, although bigger, also had 1 room with ensuite and 1 bathroom outside. I thought, oh, the friend will take the smaller room this time. As you can guess, the friend refused to take the smaller room. I asked my boyfriend about it, and he said, oh, I don't know, let me ask. Well, the friend lost it, saying he wasn't going to take a smaller room. There was no way he was going to share his bathroom with guests and that it was just not happening. I pointed out our previous agreement. We had lived in the smaller room, 2 people, and that if switching for fairness wasn't enough reason, we paid for a more uncomfortable space, 2/3 of the rent. Lastly, the guest, friends of my boyfriend and friend, tended to pee on the toilet seat where I'm supposed to sit, and that's unhygienic and disgusting. I don't want to come back from work to have to clean up the mess of someone who doesn't know how to aim. The friend then started gaslighting me and being rude. I then said that I wasn't moving in with them, for not only the attitude to address the situation, but also the disregard for the financial help I was providing and concerns. Then he called me an asshole because he had already paid the deposit and signed the contract without informing me that they were stuck in a place they couldn't afford. So, is this some sort of American standard? No matter the space you get, you pay rent equally? Am I the asshole for refusing to move in with them? And after I said yes, causing them not to be able to afford a new place?